Hi, my name's Simon, GM8NYB. Thought I'd continue with this CR100 that I had given to me. I mentioned in the last video it was passed over to me from a fellow radio ham friend of mine from the local club, and I decided to continue his restoration. But I thought today I'd just have a quick rundown of some of the components inside the CR100 here, and I'll see if I can give a good picture. Right, if I lift this up here, we can see a few things here. I'm not sure if you can see all these here. Right, this is the inside of the chassis. Here's the front part of the chassis here. We have the main tuning capacitor. It's 4 gangs. The receiver is a 6-band, goes from 150 kilohertz up to 30 megahertz in 6 bands. There's a dial that rotates here as you rotate the band switch. I'll find it. I'm not sure you can see that rotate there. That's a novel idea. It's a single conversion superhet, 465 kilohertz IF stage. Right, it's quite they both good selectivity. I'll come from the back there for a better view. Right. As you can see here, this is the first aerial stage of the tuner. Then we've got the next 2 RF stages, followed by the mixer, then the oscillator. There's the valves here. This is the first valve, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the first RF amplifier, second RF amplifier. The mixer, which is a triode hexode, but they don't use the triode side of it. They use a separate valve here as the oscillator. Coming around here, we have the first IF, second IF, which also contains a crystal filter, which I think was quite a novel idea for the time. And then we have the IF amplifiers, the last IF amp, and then over here we get the detector. Then we have a BFO here, separate BFO, you can see, and the 2 valves are missing there, one to the audio output and the rectifier. Around the back here, the 2 low frequency filters, transformer 2, which is the audio output filter. As you can see, these cables aren't very good, so that's a quick rundown of the panels here. This is the inside I showed on my last video. It has 2 small boards removed. These were, one was packed in there at the top, the other one went in a little small shielded can in here. Now the coil pack's been removed. This is the coil pack. You can see here you have the aerial, first RF section from the aerial, second RF section, the mixer coils and the oscillator coils. 6 coils for the 6 bands. Now this sat in here. This obviously shaft went into the change here. It's been removed, and it looked like it was an awful job to get out, but it has been removed before I got it. Now I marked it because I need to split these off. Now this shaft to slide out of all these wafer switches, so it's important to get these correctly aligned, otherwise you have the wrong bands for each set of coils. So I have actually marked them with some red dye here, red pen, and also marked the positions of the channel, the band 1 on each one, so I can realign it again. I intend to split these apart. It's quite complicated, the cables. They're not too bad, some of these. They're like cloth covered cables. They're not too bad, but it's the rubber again has completely disintegrated. hard to see, but you might see some capacitors here which I hope to replace, and a few resistors. So that is what goes in there. Right, I decided to do this in stages, bit by bit, instead of completely taking it apart. And what I mean by stages, an example of I've done this, taking this board, put new components on it, apart from this, which I'm still waiting for that one, and get them all cleaned up, get them all ready to go back in as I go along. The next board I want to take out is this one here, and this is attached to this metal plate, so hopefully I can get the whole metal plate out. Now on close inspection, not sure this will show up. On close inspection, some of this has been repaired. These capacitors, that was quite loose, so I can take that one out. They've got a nut on the back, so you can untwist it. The wire's been cut, by the way, so I can untwist this capacitor. This is the 0.1 UF capacitors that I find are leaky, and I've actually started doing a few of them. I think this is one here I did earlier. I've actually cut, I'll show this later on in a later video. I cut the top off with a pipe cutter, remove the whole gunge out the middle, and I cut a small hole in the bottom, small drill, being aluminium you can't solder the case, and there I've fixed the bottom of the capacitor and the capacitor at the top. I'll go into detail of how I do those. That's one I've done. There's many more to do. That's one out. I need to get these out, but as I said before, these are actually soldered to the tag strips, so it's not so easy to remove that. I was also looking at how this is held in. There's quite a few screws in here. I'm not sure I can see the close up here. There's a screw here and one there. They're all slots. Probably might be a bit hard to get out. I don't want to damage the slots on the screws. There are also some more underneath there, so I shall stop the video while I remove it and have a better look at it. This is a repair that's been done before with a resistor put in it. I'll just take the resistor off that capacitor there, off the board. I'll use that again. That's loose. I loosened it earlier than not. Right, that's the components off the board. The other thing I'm going to do is, because I'm sacrificing these wires, it's not worth keeping them. I've actually done some good still pictures with a camera as a reference. I'm not just going into this just by snipping cables all over the place. But I have a plan for rewiring it, which I'm starting to build up, which I can go into detail later on. But at the moment, I think I'll be able to remove that. So at the side, there's two screws, if I can get those out. A fairly good screwdriver, that's it. I loosened these earlier, but they were very tight. A good screwdriver is essential. I don't want to damage the heads of these little screws and then end up having to drill them out. Two more on the other side. This will be. There's one there, one there. That's it. There for safety. Yes, this one's a tight one here. Try a different screwdriver. One doesn't want to come out. There's always one that doesn't want to come out. Nothing on the back of that. Nope. Length of this. Right, that has come out. It's not the easiest one to remove. I think it's twisted the thing. Yes. Well. Right, there's a few more screws hidden away. Which are underneath here. There's hard to see. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 screws to get out there. Right. As it's turned out, there was quite a few screws underneath, 5 screws underneath, and there was a hidden one in this corner, which was very tricky to get out. It's also held on by a lot of the cables here. I had to unsolder that one there off the these connection. Now it's coming loose. I've still got a few things attached. So these old rubber cables I'm going to cut from the valves. From that one. Hopefully we get them out. These are bolted to the chassis. They're a bit awkward to get out because on the other side we have the low frequency. Oops. We have the low frequency transformers there, and the screws are underneath them. So eventually these will come off to be looked at. But in the meantime, let's endeavour to get this board out of here. I had to remove that capacitor from there. There's a couple of connections. There's a flat mica there. It's a lot of cables, but it should come out of there. There's a gap for those cables. Now, there are other cables in there. That will have to be. There's one here coming from the valve going round that was this capacitor, which is unfortunately not sourced of the board, and it's connected. It's on the lip, on the flange of this thing. And we've got cables running underneath these ones here. For now. Thank you for watching. There you go. Like the board and subscribe down there. And I'll see you next time. Bye bye. Old rubber perish cables. I'll cut them at the moment. I've taken good pictures of these. I've also got very good wiring diagrams. So when I come to reassemble it, it shouldn't be a problem. But you never know. It's not an easier thing, that's for sure. Right, have another go. Let's get this out. See what I'm doing here. Right. This cable's running. Might have been easier in hindsight to remove the board from the metal divider, but I think that's the way I'll assemble it again. What else have we got here holding it on? Right, these ones here completely perished, as you can see. These are going to go. That one and that one. These are all right, that's an interesting one. That is soldered. The braid of that is soldered to the metal chassis here. That was on a tag. This. Pressing this cable, it appears somewhere. Right, I'll stop it for now and see where that cable goes. Yeah, so once I've cleaned all this up, taken all the old cables out, I shall remove the the rest of these capacitors, they're all held in by nuts. These little nuts on the other side. Not always easy to get to, but you can get them with a little socket. And once you've loosened them, they seem to come off quite easy. This switch is the pass band switch, so I need to make sure that's all marked up so it goes back in the right place. Most of the switches are quite good. There's one or two are quite dirty. This one here is the mode switch, which is really thick with grease and grime, and the cables on it, on the cables on this switch were the same stuff as this rubber rotted away. So I've cleaned that up. I've marked the position I took it off at, and that can be put back on at some point. Right, that's it for now. I shall clean this up on the next video. I'll show you how I take the parts off. One other point while I'm here, this capacitor here, I found a couple of these in a box that came with the thing. Now these were removed. Now I don't know what happened, but you see they've got lugs on, but the other lug has snapped off. That's not very handy. Same with this one here. What I did as an experiment, I filed a groove in here and I managed to solder on, you see it, a small wire. I'm not sure that's going to work. I may try and look for replacements. I'm not even sure where these go, but they're in the box of stuff. They might not even belong to this receiver, but they're in the box of stuff that came along with this stuff from the previous owner. Right, that's it for now. Thank you for watching. You can always click like if you like, or subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.